Hello, everyone. I am Kim Hughes, and this is the January 22nd edition of Sane Crypto Live. Now, if you're listening to this after the fact on the replay, then do me a favor. Just take a second and tell me a little bit about yourself in the comments below. Where are you from? And more importantly, what is your interest in crypto? I find that people tend to fall into two camps. Either they are in the hoodie camp, meaning they're more interested in the technology itself and the social ramifications of that, or they're in the investor class. So let me know which of those you fall into, or maybe you're in both. Where are you along that spectrum? Today's topic is why this time is never different and what that can teach us about investing in cryptocurrency. The knowledge that this time is never different is one of the guiding principles that I have followed throughout my career. First, starting as an options trader way back in the day, in the sort of mid to late 90s, back in the times that there were actually people standing around in pits in funny colored jackets screaming at each other. That dates me. But then over the years, 20 plus years actually, as an award-winning asset manager and financial educator. By definition, principles don't change, which is why that it is now also principle number one of the Sane crypto system of investing as well. And in case you're interested in all of those principles, what they are, there are 6 of them. You can find those at sanecrypto.com/principles. So whether you believe, as I do, that this time is never different or not, doesn't matter. It's still a useful intellectual exercise to ask, what if it is? Again, like, you'll find I'm very principled, but I find that what if is the most important question that an investor can ask. Okay, I believe this, but what if I'm wrong? What if the opposite is true? Okay. And if it is, then what can that tell me about investing in cryptocurrencies? So, let's just, the elephant in the room here is, if this time is never different, then what that tells us is this is a bubble. Okay. This is a technology bubble, and that it's going to look like any number of other bubbles, technology bubbles that have existed, whether it's the railroads or, more recently, the internet. Okay. I know that some crypto aficionados hate that. They hate when you say that. However, I think it's true. And I think that a pretty good roadmap exists for us already in a 2016 book by AOL founder Steve Case, who had a front row seat from the very beginning of the internet, much like we do today, called The Third Wave, An Entrepreneur's Vision of the Future. Good book. I definitely recommend it. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And reading straight from the description of the book on Amazon. Pardon me while I read this to you. I think it's hang on. Oh, here we go. The first wave saw AOL and other companies lay the foundation for consumers to connect to the internet. In other words, they were putting down the infrastructure, right? The second wave saw companies like Google and Facebook build on top of the internet to create search and social networking capabilities, while apps like Snapchat and Instagram leverage the smartphone revolution. Okay, so that, I remember that waves very specifically starting. It's when you first started hearing people talk about Web 2.0, okay, a few years after the bubble burst. Now, Case argues we're entering the third wave, a period in which entrepreneurs will vastly transform major real-world sectors like health, education, transportation, energy, and food, and in the process, change the way we live our daily lives. Okay? So, while the internet may be in the third wave, I believe that cryptocurrency and blockchain are obviously in the first. We have a little wave happening inside of the bigger internet wave, which obviously can't have blockchain without the internet getting to its third wave. Okay, do you guys remember? Are you old enough to remember? You've got mail. AOL is to Bitcoin as internet is to blockchain. Currency, what Satoshi Nakamoto referred to in the first, in the original Bitcoin white paper, electronic cash. This is the email of this technology. It is the on-ramp that enough people will want and need that it will create and fund the infrastructure and use case for widespread adoption. But then let's remember that 84% of the internet IPOs back in the day were gone 10 years later, including, ironically, AOL, right? The thing that got everybody on the internet with those dang CDs in the first place. And I believe that because the requirements to launch an ICO are far less costly, it only takes about $100,000 in a halfway decent looking white paper, that number will be much, much higher this time around, maybe as much as 98%. And just like it was impossible back then to predict the Enrons or the WorldComs or the sock puppet pets.com, right? The internet darlings who were either mismanaged, in some cases scams, or just too early, right? I mean, who knows? If the sock puppet had come in the second wave, it probably would have been a success. It was too early, right? But it's impossible to know the difference between those and the one or two that emerged, who came through the flames. The two most shining examples being probably Amazon and Netflix. It's equally impossible to know who will, not only just survive, but ultimately go on to reward the shareholders, or in this case, the token holders. Because if you look back, sorry, dogs in the background. If you look back, and just take two companies like Microsoft and Cisco being another one of those infrastructure companies like AOL, those first wave companies. If you had held that from the peak in March 2000, either one of those two companies, although they are viable and Fortune 100 companies, neither one of you would not have gotten your money back. Those companies still have not seen the prices that they were on the stock market in March of 2000. Still today, 18 years later almost. Okay, so you're still not to break even. So the way I look at this and interpret this and use this knowledge, because it's useless unless you do something with it, is in the way that I craft my investment system. Which, by the way, if you're interested in that, it's online at sanecrypto.com/system. And so it's based on this, as well as 5 other principles, including hope for the best, but plan for the worst. So it's based on the following conclusions. One, we can't know who the winners and losers will be. We can believe, but we can never know. Okay, two different things. Two, every day that passes is one day closer to the bubble bursting. It could be tomorrow, it could be 10 years from now. And, but for sure, what history tells us is that every day brings us one day closer. And that three, the answer to the question that everyone wants to know, if you accept those as being true, right? If history repeats itself, then the question is when to buy and when to sell, or just hold, and to when, right? How do you know when the top is coming? And so the way that you manage that based on what history tells us is a system that enforces the discipline of selling at predetermined points as everyone else is buying on the way up, which sounds simple, but again, over 20 plus years of managing money for clients and myself, it is always just that simple and just that hard. But doing it this way, where you plan for the worst and then hope for the best, you won't make as much as you would if if you are wrong and this time is somehow not different and you just held through the whole thing. And you may lose some as well, but it wouldn't be nearly as much as if you assume that this time is different and you're wrong, right? So either way, what you do is you have to set yourself up to do well, to be okay, and most importantly, to be able to sleep well at night, because you're working in a system as opposed to flying by the seat of your pants. So hopefully that was helpful. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I do these live broadcasts typically, I want to say daily, every weekday, usually around this time. If you would like to be notified of when I do them, you can go to sanecrypto.com/live, and our handy Sane bot will get you signed up for those notifications via Facebook Messenger. Also, if you'd like to learn more about the Sane Crypto system of investing in cryptocurrency, then you can find more all about that at sanecrypto.com. Remember, disclaimer, everything I said is for educational purposes only. Nothing should be construed as investment advice. Past performance is never a guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk, especially this one. Could go to zero tomorrow, so do not, under any circumstances, invest money that you cannot afford to lose. Thanks for listening. I'll be back tomorrow with another installment of Sane Crypto Live. Until then, remember that your fear and greed are your biggest enemy in the markets. And the way to control fear and greed is a sane system repeated over and over again as if your life depended on it. Again, I'm Kim Hughes. Until next time, may the crypto gods continue to smile on us all. See ya.